I volunteered to clean the pastor's office on a Saturday morning in October. It was something I'd done dozens of times before. But that morning, while organizing the filing cabinet behind his desk, I found a folder with my family's photos inside. Not church directory photos, private photos, photos from my home, photos of my daughter. And suddenly, everything I thought I knew about my pastor, my church, and my family's safety came crashing down. My name is Diane Mitchell. I'm 43 years old. And this is the story of how a simple act of service revealed a darkness I never saw coming. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand what New Covenant Community Church meant to me before I tell you what I found. I was born into that church, literally. My mother went into labor during Sunday service in 1981, and Mother Jenkins, who'd been a midwife before retiring, helped deliver me in the church nursery while they waited for the ambulance. I came into this world surrounded by the prayers of the saints at New Covenant, and I'd been there ever since. My parents, Robert and Gloria Mitchell, were founding members. Back in 1975, when a group of 20 families decided to plant a new church on the south side of the city, my parents were among them. They met in a storefront for 3 years before they saved enough to buy the land and build the sanctuary. My father helped lay the foundation. My mother organized the first usher board. I grew up in that church, got saved at the altar when I was 8, was baptized in the baptismal pool my father helped install, sang in the youth choir, taught Sunday school, met my husband Terrence at a church picnic when I was 19. We got married in that sanctuary, had our daughter Bria dedicated at that altar, built our entire lives around that community. New Covenant was more than a church. It was family, it was legacy, it was home. And Pastor Vincent Monroe had been our shepherd for the past 12 years. He'd come to us in 2011, after our previous pastor retired. Pastor Monroe was 45 at the time. Young, dynamic, charismatic. He had a Doctor of Divinity degree from a respected seminary. He preached with passion and conviction. He seemed genuinely called to ministry. Within a year, the church had grown from 200 members to over 400. He started community outreach programs, a food pantry, a youth center. He brought energy and vision that we desperately needed. My parents loved him, called him the son we never had. My father, who'd served as a deacon for 30 years, became one of Pastor Monroe's closest advisors. My mother cooked for him at least once a week, making sure this single pastor who lived alone was properly fed. And me? I became one of his most faithful volunteers. I coordinated the women's ministry, helped organize church events, and once a month, I'd volunteer to clean his office, dusting, filing, organizing the endless paperwork that comes with running a church. It was an honor, really, a way to serve. Pastor Monroe was always so grateful, always so kind. "Sister Diane," he'd say, "I don't know what I'd do without you. You're a blessing to this ministry." I believed him. For 12 years, I believed him. The morning everything changed started like any other Saturday. It was October 14th, 2023, cool and crisp, fall leaves covering the church parking lot. I arrived at 9 a.m. with my cleaning supplies. The church secretary, Sister Ruth, let me in. "Morning, Sister Diane. Pastor's at a conference all weekend, so you'll have the office to yourself." "Perfect," I said. "I can really get some deep cleaning done." I made my way to the pastor's study. It was a beautiful room, wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a large mahogany desk, burgundy curtains. It smelled like leather and old books and the sandalwood oil he used in his diffuser. I started with the easy stuff, dusting the bookshelves, wiping down the windows, vacuuming the carpet. Then I moved to his desk. Pastor Monroe was organized, but his filing system needed constant maintenance. Papers accumulated, things got misplaced. Part of my job was to sort through everything, file what needed filing, shred what was outdated. I opened the large filing cabinet behind his desk. 4 drawers. The top 3 were labeled clearly: finances, church records, sermons, and teaching notes. The bottom drawer had no label. I'd opened it before, of course, over the years. It usually contained personal items, old family photos of his parents, cards from church members, sentimental things. I rarely disturbed it. But this time, when I pulled the drawer open to dust inside, I noticed it was more organized than usual. Files, manila folders, each one labeled. Curious, I glanced at the tabs. Building Fund 2018 to 2020. Youth Ministry Records. Outreach programs. All normal, all expected. And then I saw one near the back. The tab simply said, Mitchell Family. My stomach dropped. Why would there be a file with our family name? We weren't on the board. We didn't have any special church business that would require a dedicated folder. I told myself it was probably donation records, tax information, something administrative. But my hands were shaking as I pulled it out. I opened the folder, and my entire world tilted. Inside were photos, dozens of them, but not church directory photos. These were personal, private. A photo of Bria walking out of our house in her school uniform. I recognized the angle. It was taken from the street, zoomed in. A photo of me and Terrence in our backyard during a summer barbecue. We were laughing, not posing. We didn't know anyone was taking this picture. A photo of Bria at her high school graduation this past spring, wearing her cap and gown. But this wasn't one of the official photos. This looked like it had been taken from the audience, zoomed in on just her face. She'd just turned 18 3 months before graduation. A photo of our family at the grocery store. Candid, unposed. A photo of Bria in her car. She looked about 16 in this photo. She was singing along to something, not looking at the camera. There were at least 20 photos, all of us, all taken without our knowledge. My hands started trembling so violently I almost dropped the folder. I forced myself to keep looking. Beneath the photos were printouts, social media screenshots, posts from Bria's Instagram, posts she'd deleted years ago, posts from my Facebook, Terrence's LinkedIn profile. And then, at the bottom, there was a handwritten note. Pastor Monroe's handwriting. I recognized it immediately. Bria Mitchell. Born March 15th, 2005. Attends State University, freshman year. Communications major. Works part-time at the mall. Drives a blue Honda Civic. Detailed information. Documented, tracked, like surveillance. I felt the bile rise in my throat. My vision blurred. I sat down hard in his desk chair because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. This wasn't random. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional, deliberate, organized. Our pastor had been watching us, documenting us, collecting information about my family, specifically about my 18-year-old daughter who just graduated high school, and hiding it in a locked drawer in his office. The room spun. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could hear was my own heartbeat pounding in my ears and a voice in my head screaming, "Why? Why would he do this? What does he want with my daughter?" I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been 20. Time stopped meaning anything. Finally, with shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. Every photo in that folder, every document, every note. I documented everything. Then I put the folder back exactly where I found it, closed the drawer, forced my breathing to slow, because I needed to think. I needed to understand what I was dealing with before I acted. But even as I tried to rationalize, maybe there's an explanation, maybe I'm misunderstanding, I knew. Deep down, I knew. This was wrong. This was predatory. This was dangerous. And it was happening under the cover of pastoral care, in the house of God, by a man my family trusted completely. I finished cleaning on autopilot, put everything back in order, locked the office, told Sister Ruth I wasn't feeling well and needed to go home. I drove home in a daze. Terrence was in the garage working on his truck. Bria was in her room studying. Everything looked normal, safe, but nothing would ever feel safe again. I went straight to our bedroom, closed the door, and finally let myself fall apart. Let me pause here for a moment to recap, because I know this is heavy. My name is Diane Mitchell. I'm 43, and I've been a member of New Covenant Community Church my entire life. My parents were founding members. I'm deeply connected to this church. It's my heritage, my community, my spiritual home. Pastor Vincent Monroe has been our shepherd for 12 years, and my family has trusted him completely. This morning, while cleaning his office as I've done for years, I found a folder with my family's name on it hidden in his desk. Inside were dozens of surveillance-style photos of me, my husband, and especially my daughter Bria, who's 18 and just started college this fall. There were also detailed notes about Bria's schedule, her habits, her information. I documented everything and came home, and now I'm trying to figure out what to do. Let me tell you what happened next. I sat on the edge of my bed and cried. Not loud, dramatic crying, just silent tears streaming down my face while I tried to process what I'd seen. My phone was in my hand. The photos I'd taken were burning a hole in my consciousness. I kept scrolling through them, hoping I'd see something different, hoping I'd been wrong. But I wasn't wrong. Every photo confirmed what I feared. Our pastor had been stalking my family, specifically my daughter. The knock on the bedroom door made me jump. "Mom?" Bria's voice. "You okay? Dad said you came home early." I quickly wiped my face. "I'm fine, baby. Just a headache. I'm gonna rest." "Okay. Let me know if you need anything." Her footsteps retreated, and I felt a surge of protective rage so fierce it took my breath away. She had no idea. My beautiful, trusting, faithful daughter, who just graduated high school this spring and started her freshman year at State University, had no idea that the man who'd baptized her, who she called Pastor Vince, who she'd trusted her entire life, had been watching her, following her, collecting photos of her since she was a child. The thought made me physically ill. I knew I had to tell Terrence. But how? How do you tell your husband that the pastor you both revered has been stalking your child? I waited until after dinner, until Bria was back in her room with her headphones on, absorbed in her studying. "Terry, we need to talk, in private." He saw my face and immediately got serious. We went to our bedroom. I closed the door, locked it. "What's wrong?" I showed him my phone, scrolled through every photo I'd taken, watched his expression go from confusion to disbelief to fury. "What the hell is this?" His voice was low, controlled, but I could hear the rage underneath. "I found it in Pastor Monroe's office, in a locked drawer, a whole folder, just about us, mostly about Bria." "That's sick." He stopped himself, paced the room. His hands were clenched into fists. "How long has he been doing this?" "I don't know. Some of these photos are from years ago. Terry, he's been watching her since she was a child. And now she's 18, just started college, and he's still tracking her movements." The silence that followed was suffocating. We both knew what this meant, what this could mean. The implications were too horrible to fully articulate. "We call the police," Terrence said finally, "right now." "And tell them what? That our pastor has photos of our family?" "That's not just photos, Diane. That's surveillance. That's stalking. That's—" He couldn't finish. Couldn't say out loud what we were both thinking. "I know, but we need to think about this. We need to think about Bria, about the church, about my parents. This is going to destroy everything." "I don't care about the church right now," his voice rose. "I care about our daughter's safety." "I care about her safety too. That's why we need to be smart about this. If we go to the police without proof, it's our word against his. He's a respected pastor with a doctorate. We're just members. Who do you think they'll believe? We have the photos. Photos I took illegally by going through his private files. A defense attorney will have those thrown out in a heartbeat." Terrence sat on the bed, put his head in his hands. "So what do we do?" "I don't know yet, but we can't just rush into this. We need to be strategic. We need to protect Bria first, make sure she's safe, and then we figure out how to bring him down without destroying ourselves in the process." We stayed up until 2 a.m, going over every option, every scenario. By the time we finally fell into an uneasy sleep, we'd made a plan. First, keep Bria away from church and away from Pastor Monroe without telling her why yet. We didn't want to traumatize her with the details until we had to. Second, document everything. Start keeping records of Pastor Monroe's behavior, his interactions with Bria, anything that seemed inappropriate in hindsight. Third, talk to someone we could trust, someone with authority who could help us navigate this. We decided on Deacon Chambers. He was 75, had known my parents since the church began, and wasn't close to Pastor Monroe. If anyone would take us seriously, it was him. Sunday morning came. I called Bria into the kitchen before she could get dressed for church. "Baby, I need you to sit this one out today. You too, Terry. I'm not feeling well, and I think we all need a rest day." Bria looked surprised. "We never miss church." "I know, but sometimes we need to rest. It's okay to take a Sunday off." She seemed skeptical but didn't push. "Okay, can I at least go to the mall with Ashley later?" "Actually, no. I need you home today. We can have a family day, watch movies, order pizza." "Mom, what's going on? You're acting weird." "Nothing's going on. I just want to spend time with you. Is that so strange?" She gave me a look that said she didn't believe me, but she nodded. "Okay, family day." After she left the kitchen, Terrence came in. "You think she bought it?" "No, but she'll stay home. That's what matters." I, however, went to church because I needed to see Pastor Monroe, needed to look him in the face, knowing what I knew. The service was packed as usual. 400 people singing, praising, worshiping. And there he was, in his pulpit, in his robe, with his Bible, preaching about trust and faith and the goodness of God. I sat in the back, watched him, studied him, looked for signs of the predator hiding beneath the pastoral exterior. And I saw it. Maybe for the first time, I really saw it. The way his eyes scanned the congregation, lingering on the young women. The way he smiled, charming, practiced, calculated. The way he spoke with such authority, making people trust him, believe him, follow him. He was good, really good. 12 years of grooming an entire congregation to trust him implicitly. After service, I waited in the lobby until I could catch Deacon Chambers alone. "Sister Diane, missed you and Terrence in service today. Everything all right?" "Actually, Deacon, I need to talk to you, privately. It's urgent." His expression shifted. He could hear the gravity in my voice. "My office, right now." We went to the small office he kept in the administrative wing. He closed the door. "Talk to me." I showed him the photos, told him everything, watched his face go from concern to horror to rage. "Lord have mercy," he whispered. "How long have you known?" "Since yesterday." "Deacon, I don't know what to do, but I know we can't ignore this, and I know I can't trust anyone else in leadership with this information until I understand who else might know." He nodded slowly. "You're right to be careful. Some of the board members are very loyal to Pastor Monroe. They might not want to believe this. Might try to cover it up to protect the church's reputation. So what do I do? You go to the police, today, right now, file a report, get this officially documented. I'll go with you as a witness that you showed me these photos, that you've reported this properly. What about the church? I'll call an emergency board meeting, show them what you found. Pastor Monroe will be suspended immediately pending investigation. I have the authority to do that as senior deacon. My parents are going to be devastated." His eyes softened. "I know, baby, but we have to protect these children. If he's done this to your Bria, he might have done it to others. We have a responsibility." We went to the police station that afternoon, filed a formal report. The detective assigned to the case, Detective Sarah Williams, was a black woman in her 40s. The moment I showed her the photos, her expression hardened. "Ma'am, what you're describing is stalking, harassment, and potentially predatory behavior toward a minor, and now a young adult. This is serious, very serious. What happens now? We open an investigation. We'll need to seize the physical folder from his office. We'll interview him. We'll look into whether there are other victims. And I'm going to be honest with you, cases like this in religious institutions are complicated. These men often have powerful defenders. But I promise you, we will investigate this thoroughly. How do I keep my daughter safe in the meantime? Has he ever approached her inappropriately? Touched her? Made any advances? Not that I know of, but now I'm questioning everything. Every conversation, every interaction. Keep her away from him. No contact whatsoever. If he tries to reach out to her, document it and call me immediately. Here's my direct number. That evening, Deacon Chambers called an emergency board meeting. I wasn't there. I'd been advised by the detective to let the church handle their internal process while the police handled the criminal investigation. But my father was on the board, and he called me at 9 o'clock that night, his voice broken. "Diane, baby girl, is it true? What you found?" "Yes, Daddy. I'm sorry. I know how much you loved him." There was a long pause. Then I heard him crying. My strong, stoic father who never cried, sobbing on the phone. He sat at our dinner table. "Your mother cooked for him. We trusted him with everything, with you, with Bria. And he couldn't finish." "I know, Daddy. I know. The board voted unanimously to suspend him. He's not allowed on church property. We're cooperating fully with the police. But Diane, there's something else. Something you need to know." My blood ran cold. "What?" "When we confronted him with the photos tonight, before he lawyered up and stopped talking, he said something. He said, 'You don't understand. I was protecting them, keeping them safe, watching over them.' Protecting us from what?" That's what I asked. And he said, "From the world, from corruption. I was being a shepherd to that family." That's insane. I know. But the way he said it, Diane, he believes it. He genuinely believes he was doing something righteous. That's what's so terrifying. He's convinced himself this stalking, this surveillance, was a form of pastoral care. After I hung up, I sat in the darkness of my living room trying to process. He thought he was protecting us, watching over us, being a shepherd. That's how predators justify their actions. They reframe their perversion as care, their stalking as protection, their violations as love. The next few weeks were a nightmare. The church split into factions. Some believed the accusations immediately, especially families with young daughters who started remembering uncomfortable interactions they'd dismissed at the time. Others defended Pastor Monroe viciously, calling me a liar, saying I was trying to destroy a man of God. My mother stopped going to church. The place that had been her spiritual home for 48 years suddenly felt contaminated. "I can't walk in there without seeing him at that pulpit," she said. Without remembering all the times he smiled at Bria, all the times he asked about her. And we just thought he was being a good pastor. The police investigation expanded. They seized his computer, his phone, his files, and they found more. So much more. Folders for 6 other families, all with teenage daughters, all with the same surveillance-style photos, the same detailed notes, the same obsessive documentation. It wasn't just us. He'd been doing this to multiple families for years. The DA pressed charges: stalking, harassment, unlawful surveillance, possession of images of minors without consent. Pastor Vincent Monroe was arrested on November 3, 2023. His bail was set at $500,000. His denomination suspended his ordination. His name was all over the local news. And New Covenant Community Church had to face a reckoning. Let me pause again to update you on where we are. It's been 3 weeks since I found that folder. Pastor Monroe has been arrested and charged with stalking and surveillance of multiple families. The church is deeply divided. Some members believe the accusations. Others are defending him fiercely. My family is traumatized but safe. The detective leading the case, Detective Williams, has found evidence suggesting Pastor Monroe targeted at least 6 other families with teenage daughters. We're currently waiting for the trial, and we're trying to figure out how to heal from this betrayal. Now let me tell you about what happened when everything finally came to light publicly. The first hearing was scheduled for December 15th. The prosecution wanted to establish the scope of his behavior, the pattern of stalking, the intentional targeting of minors and young adults. 7 families came forward to testify. 7 families whose daughters had been watched, photographed, documented without their knowledge. I had to sit in that courtroom and listen to other mothers describe the same violation I'd felt, the same horror, the same betrayal. And I realized we weren't victims of a moment of weakness. We were victims of a calculated, long-term predatory pattern. One mother, Sister Angela, testified about finding her daughter's school schedule in Pastor Monroe's handwriting on his desk calendar. She'd seen it during a meeting and thought nothing of it at the time. "I thought he was praying for her," she said through tears. "I thought he was being a good shepherd. Now I realize he was tracking her movements." Another father, Brother Marcus, testified about Pastor Monroe asking seemingly innocent questions about his daughter. "What time does she get home from practice? What route does she take? I thought he was just being friendly, making conversation. Now I know he was gathering information." The defense tried to paint Pastor Monroe as a caring pastor who was over-involved, but not criminal. They tried to say the photos were taken in public places, that the notes were prayer records, that everything could be explained innocently. But the prosecution had something the defense didn't expect. They'd found a journal in Pastor Monroe's home office. Handwritten entries describing his flock, describing teenage girls in his congregation, describing fantasies, describing plans. It was damning, undeniable, disgusting. On January 20th, 2024, Pastor Vincent Monroe pled guilty to multiple counts of stalking and harassment. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison and required to register as a sex offender upon release. He was also prohibited from working in ministry or having any contact with minors. The judge, a black woman in her 60s, looked at him and said, "You abused a position of sacred trust. You violated the safety of children and young women whose families saw you as a spiritual father. You used the cover of ministry to engage in predatory behavior. This court finds your actions reprehensible and the harm you've caused immeasurable." He showed no remorse, just stood there, expressionless, as his life and ministry crumbled around him. But our healing couldn't start until he was gone. And even then, it was slow. So slow. New Covenant Community Church had to rebuild from the ground up. The board brought in a trauma counselor who specialized in religious abuse. We held healing sessions, support groups. We established new policies, background checks, mandatory reporting training, accountability structures for all leaders. We called an interim pastor, a woman this time, Pastor Dr. Sharon Hayes, 60 years old, wise, compassionate, transparent. She didn't try to minimize what had happened or rush us through healing. She let us grieve, let us rage, let us question. My parents struggled the most. They'd given their entire adult lives to building that church, and it had been corrupted by the very person they'd trusted to lead it. "How do we trust again?" my mother asked one Sunday after service. "How do I sit in that sanctuary and not feel like a fool for not seeing what was right in front of me?" Pastor Sharon heard her and said something I'll never forget. "You're not a fool for trusting. You're a good-hearted woman who believed a man who presented himself as worthy of trust. The shame belongs to him, not to you. He exploited your goodness. That's on him." Slowly, my mother started to heal, started to come back to church, started to reclaim what had been stolen from her. Bria struggled too. She'd been blindsided by the revelation, had to process that the pastor she'd loved and trusted had been stalking her for years, through her childhood, through her teenage years, and now into her young adulthood. She went to therapy, dealt with feelings of violation, betrayal, and confusion. "I keep thinking about every time he talked to me," she said one night. "Every time he asked me about school or my friends or my life. I thought he cared about me like a spiritual father, but he was gathering information. It makes my skin crawl." "I know, baby, but you did nothing wrong. You trusted someone you should have been able to trust. That's not your fault. I just feel so stupid." "You're not stupid. You're a young woman who believed in the goodness of people in the church. That's not stupidity. That's faith, and he took advantage of that faith. It took months, but Bria started to heal too. Started to understand that she wasn't to blame, that the violation wasn't her fault, that she deserved to feel safe in her church. As for me, I had to wrestle with my own guilt. I'd been the one cleaning his office for years. How had I not seen the signs? How had I not noticed? Pastor Sharon helped me understand something crucial. Predators are skilled at hiding. They're experts at manipulation. They groom entire communities, not just individual victims. You weren't supposed to see the signs because he made sure there were no obvious signs. That's what makes them so dangerous. Today, it's been 14 months since I found that folder. The church is healing, but the scars remain. Some families left. They couldn't stay in a place that held so much trauma. Others stayed and helped rebuild. My family stayed. Because New Covenant is our legacy. It's my parents' legacy. And we weren't going to let one predator steal that from us. We're careful now, vigilant. We ask questions. We trust, but verify. We watch for red flags. We teach our young people about boundaries, about inappropriate behavior, about the difference between genuine pastoral care and manipulation. And we talk about it, openly, honestly, because silence is what allows predators to thrive. Shame is what keeps victims from speaking up. So we speak up. We tell our story. We warn other churches. We advocate for better protections, better policies, better accountability. Because what happened to us can't happen to another family, another child, another church. I still volunteer at New Covenant, but now I'm on the safety committee. I help train volunteers. I teach parents how to recognize grooming behaviors. I make sure that every leader in our church understands that trust is earned, not automatic, and that accountability is not optional. Last week, a young mother approached me after service. She was new to the church. She said, "I heard about what happened here. I heard your story. And I came because I knew this was a place that wouldn't hide from hard truths." That takes courage. And I realized, our trauma wasn't wasted. Our pain had purpose. We'd taken something horrible and turned it into protection for others. We'd turned violation into vigilance. We'd turned betrayal into boundaries. That's what faith does. It doesn't erase the pain, but it redeems it. It transforms it. It uses it for something greater. If you're listening to this story and you've experienced something similar, I want you to know something. This wasn't your fault. You're not stupid for trusting. You're not weak for not seeing the signs. Predators are skilled at deception. They're experts at manipulation. They use our faith, our goodness, our trust against us. But they don't get to win. They don't get to steal our peace, our faith, or our communities. You have the right to speak up, to ask questions, to demand accountability. And if you're in a church that tries to silence you, protect the abuser, or shame you for telling the truth, leave. That's not a church. That's a cover-up. Real churches, real communities of faith protect the vulnerable. They believe victims. They act swiftly. They prioritize safety over reputation. And real faith? Real faith doesn't crumble when leaders fail, because real faith is in God, not in men. Men will always disappoint. Leaders will always fall. But God remains faithful. Psalm 37:5-6 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun." That's what happened for us. The truth came to light, not because we were perfect, but because God is just. He saw what was happening in the darkness, and He brought it into the light, not to shame us, but to free us. If you're carrying a secret right now, if you've seen something wrong and you're afraid to speak up, if you're struggling with whether to tell the truth about abuse or manipulation or violation in your church, I'm telling you, speak. Tell someone, document it, report it. Trust that God will vindicate you. Yes, there will be consequences. Yes, people might not believe you. Yes, your community might split. But living with the truth is always better than living with the lie. Always. And for those of you watching who are church leaders, hear this. You have a sacred responsibility to protect the vulnerable. Not the institution, not the reputation, not the pastor, the people, especially the children and young people. If you hear an accusation, investigate it. Don't minimize it. Don't cover it up. Don't protect the accused at the expense of the victim. Because when you do that, you're not preserving the church, you're participating in abuse. If this story resonated with you, if it helped you, if it gave you courage to speak your own truth, would you do me a favor? Hit that like button, let me know this mattered to you, and leave a comment. Share your story if you feel safe doing so. Or just let us know you're praying for those who are walking through similar situations. Your voice matters, your witness matters, your courage inspires others. And please subscribe to Sister Circle Stories. We're building a community of women committed to telling the truth about faith, about church, about the hard realities of spiritual abuse and how we overcome it. We're not here to bash the church. We're here to make it better, safer, more accountable. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for holding space for this painful truth. Thank you for being part of a community that refuses to stay silent. May God give you wisdom to see clearly. May He give you courage to speak truthfully. May He give you strength to stand firmly. And may He surround you with people who will believe you, protect you, and fight for justice with you. Stay vigilant, stay faithful, stay strong, and remember, the truth will set you free. It might hurt first, it might cost you something, but it will always, always set you free. God bless you.